Now that Despicable Me 4 is out, I'm going to rank all the Despicable Me and Minion movies right here. So all 6 of those, the Despicable Me universe. Before we get to the ranking though, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 700 subscribers. Helps me out. It's free to do so. But let's get to number 6, which is Minions Rise of Gru. And I will say, this was a fun time in the theaters when this was coming out because you know that everyone dressed up in suits to go see this and everyone was just really enjoying it. It was kind of like a TikTok trend. I thought that was pretty fun, but I will say it is the weakest one in this kind of universe because young Gru in this, he kind of annoyed me a lot. Bro, this wouldn't stop talking and he was always being mean to the minions, bro. Don't gotta be mean to the minions. I love the minions. Why are you being mean to him? And I felt like he was just over his head. You know, Gru's always been an overconfident kind of guy. The Vicious Six are also probably the least interesting villains and the most forgettable, but I did love when the minions kept calling Gru mini boss because he got so angry. I don't know, I kind of liked when Gru just got angry all the time and they're like, mini boss, mini boss. I was like, yeah, keep chanting that. That's a good, because he is a mini boss. He's their boss and he's a pretty small guy. He's only a little bit taller than the minions. I didn't really care for the kung fu training with Michelle Yeoh, even though I thought she did a great job. It's just padding the movie for me at that point. But I also did love Otto. I thought he was like the new minion in this movie because he never shut up and he always wanted to help, but he just always ran out of breath because he was always talking so much. And when he was riding that tricycle on that one road, bro was going so fast. Like he was going in different biomes every 5 seconds. Like damn, was going really fast. Like it is another pretty average one, but I will say it is the worst one in the whole universe. Then we got Despicable Me 3. I will say I love the villain in this one. Balthazar Brat was fairly entertaining, and he was a big music guy, which, you know, me, myself, I am a big music guy. I try to listen to, you know, all types of music. But this Brat guy, this Brat villain, he listened to a lot of 80s music because that was when he was in his prime, you know, MTV actor days. And when they started the movie with Michael Jackson's Bad, I was having a straight up blast because that is one of my favorite songs from one of my favorite artists, just having all these 80s songs in the soundtrack, which is great. And I also like Brad's kind of like keyboard gun weapon that he used. Like he was just shooting like notes at Gru. I thought that was pretty cool. But seeing Gru half naked, covered in bubblegum, it scarred me for life. It's something I'll never forget. I thought it was terrifying. You know, I never want to see Gru like that again. That was just a terrifying thing. You know, I feel bad if your kid had to see that. It's crazy. But the minions in this one leave Gru and go to jail because they're tired of him being kind of like a hero. And I will say that was kind of a bad decision. You know, taking most of the minions away from the main plot and from the main squad was a mistake. But they do come back. It's like that jail plotline didn't really work for me though. I also didn't really care for Drew. I thought he was just a more annoying version of Gru. And he had hair, which kind of also scarred me because it doesn't really fit because you've never seen Gru with hair. It's weird. The final battle was interesting though with the, you know, kind of Brat's kind of mech guy. So it's okay. It's a little bit better than Minions 2, but it's still not that great. Then in fourth place comes Despicable Me 4, which is the newest one out of the bunch. This is one that I went into with like zero expectations because I was kind of done with this franchise after Minions 2. Despicable Me 3 weren't that great. And I also heard some horrible things about this one, but I kind of came out of it and said, it's about as average all the other ones, but I did like it just a little bit, which is why I put it over Minions 2 and Despicable Me 3. And I gotta thank God that Drew was not in this one, because if he was, I would have walked out. Like, if he had any speaking lines, I would have walked out. And I will say, this one has one of my favorite endings to one of these movies in this franchise, because there are some fun cameos in there. It does kind of feel like a fitting into this franchise, but you know, these movies are going to make so much, they're just going to keep making them since people keep going to them. And Will Ferrell voices the villain in this one, Maxime. His voice work was excellent, but his character was just weird because he was like a literal cockroach. So I thought that was a little gross. And I did like the Mega Minions, but I think they could have done more with them. I didn't think that they really utilized them that well. And Gru Jr., which is, you know, Gru's baby in this one, wasn't needed. And it's something I just didn't really care for. I thought he was a really mean baby also. And I did like the undercover kind of aspect of the story too. I thought that was a really interesting aspect. So yeah, I actually like this one a little bit. The first Minions movie was actually pretty decent. I actually enjoy this one a lot. And let's be real, these Minion movies were made for merchandise purposes and merchandise purposes only, because they gotta sell a lot of merch and a lot of stuffed, you know, minions for this movie in particular. I think this was the first one in this series to make $1 billion, so good for them on that. And this one, you know, it has the best minions in it. Kevin Stewart's and Bob gotta be the, my favorite minions, gotta be the best minions of all time. I think Bob is my favorite minion. He's just such a cute little guy. Villain Con was an interesting and fun aspect of the story. I did wish that they spent more time there before, kind of like the minions messed it up. And I kind of love Scarlet Overkill. I think she's like my second favorite villain in this series. Sandra Bullock did a badass job voicing her, and she actually turns into a full menace by the end of this, and her dress that she wears kind of just turns into a rocket. I was like, damn, that dress is really cool. And then the King Bob moment should be in the history books as one of the best moments in film history. Like when he's like, King Bob, I was like, bro, bow down to King Bob. He's just so cool. And then I laughed so hard in this one because someone calls the minions bald jaundiced children. I thought that was just a really out of pocket line. Like, why are the writers writing about bald jaundiced children? This is a kids movie. That's a crazy line to say for a kids movie, but I thought it was really funny. And you got that young cameo of Gru at the end, which was pretty interesting. So yeah, I like this one. I thought this one was really good. Despicable Me 2 comes in second place, and we got to see Drew dress up as kind of like a little fairy princess for his kids, which I thought was funny at the start of this one. This one, he's becoming more of a dad figure, kind of like he doesn't want Margot to go on dates because he's like trying to be a real dad in this one, which I thought was very charming. The introduction of Lucy is in this one with Kristen Wiig giving a great performance, and I liked her and Gru's banter. I thought that was funny. But Gru gets beaten up by Lucy at the beginning when they first meet because Gru is kind of dumb. He's a very dumb, like, kind of protagonist, antagonist. And I laughed really hard when Agnes was reading the poem to Gru at night because she was so stone-faced. That was one of my favorite moments in this movie. I will say though, the El Macho villain was very weak for me. It's not the weakest in the series, but one of the weakest, because I didn't care for him whenever he came on screen, and I just didn't care for any of his motivations. The purple evil minions though were cool, and I love their design. Just give us like purple minions that are good guys. That's kind of like all I want, because I kind of like their hair, and I think purple looks better than the yellow minions. And the final wedding sequence was also pretty nice with the minions singing. I always love when they're singing because you can never understand them. Coming in first place though has to be the first Despicable Me because it's a classic. It might be Illumination's best movie, but that's not really difficult to do at this point because Illumination, they don't really make that many great movies, but I do think that this one's great. This is, one of my favorite childhood memories, looking back on this movie when it first came out. Has a load of charm, with Gru starting out as a grumpy and overconfident antagonist, and then finishing out the movie, he's a funny dad that cares for his new children that he adopted, Margot, Edith, and Agnes, who I thought are a great trio. They're all pretty funny, making fun of Gru the whole movie. The carnival sequence is one of my favorite sequences in this movie. I loved when he finally got Agnes the unicorn, destroyed the whole carnival game, and I was like, yes, Gru, please do that, because no one likes carnival games. They're all rigged, just like this one was. And this is basically the movie that started it all. This is the one that started the minion craze, the minion hype around all that merchandise. It changed the world. The world will never be the same after the Minions took over with this movie. And Pharrell, I didn't mention him in my Despicable Me 4 review, but he nails the soundtrack of every one of these movies. It's cool to see how he's come back for, every Despicable Me movie. I forget if he did the Minion movies, but I know he did all the Despicable Me ones. So it's cool that he's been doing these for all these years. And Jason Segel as Vector has to be, and forever will be, the best villain in this universe. Vector's really cool. He's like, oh yeah, I always love that. I love that line he does. He's just a terrific villain, and I love the ending sequence when they're trying to steal the moon, Gru versus him. Thought that was great. So Despicable Me 1 is the best movie in the Despicable Me franchise in my eyes, but make sure to leave your ranking down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you guys about it, but if you did enjoy my ranking, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.